Hey, what's going on, everyone? How you doing today? My name is Matt Jarbo. Welcome to Three Buck Theater. And a couple of years ago, there was a big cinematic universe push between studios, right? They really wanted to capture what Marvel has done. I mean, so many of them are still attempting to play catch up, even though they don't put any kind of fundamental faith in the properties that they're trying to bridge together into the cinematic universe. I mean, remember Universal and Dark Universe and The Mummy came out, and then like that failed to perform, even with Tom Cruise, and so they just kind of scuttled everything. And you're like, but why? Why not at least have the faith? Have the faith to do it, make it a thing. But there's really two cinematic universes right now, maybe three, that I can think of that are doing well. You have Marvel, obviously, number one entertainment property in the world. That ain't going to change for a while. You've got the Conjuring universe, which Annabelle Comes Home just came out. That's the sixth movie in that franchise of low budget films that's grossed over $1 billion worldwide. And then there's other one. Paranormal Activities one. That's a series. Saw's another one. I think they're getting ready to shoot Jigsaw 2 here pretty soon, or it could be Saw 8 or Saw 9. I don't even know how many Saws there are now at this point. But what I'm trying to get through here is that cinematic universes can work in many cases, provided they follow one key element. And if it's not comic books or a book series, it's horror, man. Horror works in regards to having a cinematic universe, and I think the success of Freddy vs. Jason back in 2003 really showed that back then, but they were unable to materialize a sequel in Freddy vs. Jason vs. Ash, which is a very interesting story, and I have a whole video on it that you should check out called WTF Happened to Freddy vs. Jason vs. Ash. Anyway, the story of the day, the story of right now is the Walking Dead producers, because that grand group of creatives are to launch a horror fairy tale universe. Now, this is a fascinating story to me. This is a very fascinating story because it's so wild that it could actually work. Now, it says here that the Circle of Confusion, the production company that brought you such spine-tingling sensation as The Walking Dead and Fear the Walking Dead, have landed the rights to A Wicked Tale, an original script penned by Dan Kay. While Kay's script may have been described as a contemporary horror take on the classic Brothers Grimm fairy tale, Hansel and Gretel, it's been said that COC is planning to build a shared universe franchise of horror movies based on retooled versions of classic fairy tales and public domain characters. That's a key thing there, public domain. There's a lot in the public domain that you could pull from, and I've honestly thought about doing it myself because I'm lazy and it just seems like fun. Anyway, rewriting the script for Hansel and Gretel idea are Zach Andrews and Bobby Rowe, who in 2014 jointly delivered The House's October Built, a horror film that centers on five friends who are stalked by a group of mysterious, disturbed individuals while on a road trip looking for the ultimate haunted house attraction. You've also got, what this is here for A Wicked Tale, Andrews and Rowe aim to craft a wickedly good script that centers on two college students who stumble upon something sinister in the local woods after an altercation with a fellow student leads to deadly consequences. So it's a bit of a contrived thing. It's a bit of a, we've seen these kind of stories before. Two college students stumble upon something sinister in the woods after an altercation with a fellow student leads to deadly consequences, meaning that they're going to come across, the house for the witch. And then that's going to be a whole thing. But the question then becomes, how are they going to tie it into the Grimm fairy tales? So what is going to be the bridge there? What is going to be that connecting piece? And that's going to be fascinating. So it says here, if successful, Circle of Confusion plans to tap into fairy tales from all corners of the world, twisting them into savagely surreal stories of pain, terror, and cautionary conundrums. As I'm down for like horror inspired fairy tale theme movies. I have nothing against that, but again, this is what we're going to be talking about here. Like, okay, so you're going to have Red Riding Hood and Hansel and Gretel, and I forget all the other ones that they've done. There's a lot. Snow White, the original tale. There's a lot they're going to be able to do with that they're going to just maybe, I don't think they're going to make it contemporary, but they're probably going to, make it into this thing where it's like some weird underground world or the Grimm brothers are still alive through some immortal means. I don't know. I mean, if I were to write it, that's kind of probably what I would do is like I would probably keep the Grimm writers, the brothers Grimm still alive. But they're immortal, and they've always been trying to warn people about these creatures that are out there. But society just chose to not believe them, and then commercialism and all of these pop culture corporate entity things kick in and ends up making it this whole. It could be a thing. It could be a thing. They should hire me to write this, by the way. They should totally hire me to write this damn thing. I am interested to see a shared horror fairy tale universe. I am. I want to see if they're able to pull it off. But if I'm going to be honest with you, unless they have a good overarching connection, right? Like take a look at like Godzilla. Like you could call it the MonsterVerse, right? I think they are calling it that. And that's, Godzilla, King of the Monsters, King Kong, and then King Kong versus Godzilla, which will effectively, I think, end that particular shared universe if the earnings from King of the Monsters are any indication. Like those things are cool, but they have the monarch, right? The company that's the organization that kind of oversees everything. They're the ones that we're kind of following their adventures and whatnot. So I think ultimately that is where things are, is like, if they do this low budget horror themed, it can actually work. The scripts have got to be good. The stories have got to be complete, and they've got to effectively, whoever brings this, whoever works on this, whoever makes this has got to go into it with that intention, has got to go into it with the ability or with the desire to crank out multiples of these. And I think this would probably be good for Blumhouse, if I'm being fair. I think Blumhouse would do a better job on this because they understand horror, they understand sequels, and this is something that could really work for them. So we'll have to wait and see. I mean, look at all the Purge movies. Jesus, look at all the Purge films that they've done. So with any luck, this will come out sometime in the next couple of years, and we'll be able to see what exactly is going to be happening. I'm holding my breath that it's entertaining, but if it ends up being another fizzled out cinematic universe, I'm just going to kind of go, yeah, makes sense. You bit off more than you could chew. But at the same time, here's the thing. I know the studios want to be cautious on this stuff. I get that. But I feel sometimes you just got to roll the dice, and you just have to like greenlight a bunch of these films at once, and then just like trust in your creative team. If one doesn't quite hit, the next one might make them for micro budget films, $10 million budget or less. You're not out that much money. And if one of them hits, the rest of them will probably end up hitting, and you'll make all that cash back plus a whole lot more. And then you'll have the ability to sequelize everything until the literal end of time. Because if they're going to be doing fairy tales, it's not just the Grimm brothers. We're talking like all corners of the world. There are some interesting fairy tales from all corners of the film, or all corners of the world. And I'm not going to lie, one of the things I'm interested in is to see whether or not like a movie about a banshee could be a thing. That'd be kind of cool, wouldn't it? A banshee film? Yeah. Give us some of those kind of folklores, like the Jinn out of the Middle East, right? We got the Wishmaster movies with Robert Davey. Was it Robert Davey? No, it wasn't Robert Davey. It was Andrew something or another. But those are fun films. And again, that's what it was back then. Anyway, your thoughts, your opinions. I want to hear them down in the comments below. I'll talk to you guys later. Have yourself a great day, and peace out.